What's going on, everybody? Thomas Lord here, your Central Florida Realtor, and today we're breaking down what is really happening in the Florida housing market. And honestly, the market right now is acting like that one friend who says they're leaving the party, but somehow they're still standing in the kitchen 45 minutes later. Some numbers are cooling down, some are heating up, and buyers and sellers are both trying to figure out who actually has the upper hand. So let's break this down in plain English, no economist jargon, no CNBC panic music, and no fake "the market is crashing tomorrow" nonsense. Let's jump into it.
First, let's look at Florida as a whole. Comparing March to April of 2026, active listings are still way up year over year. That means buyers finally have something they haven't seen in a while: choices. Remember during the peak frenzy when buyers had approximately 11 seconds to decide whether they wanted a house before 37 cash offers showed up? Yeah, that market is gone. Pending sales dipped slightly month over month in April, but overall activity is still stronger than last year. Median prices statewide are still holding relatively steady, which is important because despite all the housing collapse headlines floating around online, Florida prices have not fallen off a cliff. What we are seeing is normalization, more inventory, more negotiating, longer days on market, and honestly, a more balanced market. Now let's zoom in locally. In March, we had over 1,100 active listings, and by April, inventory stayed elevated. Days on market also climbed slightly. Translation: homes are taking longer to sell. And sellers, this is important. Pricing strategy matters again. You can no longer throw a house on the market, sprinkle some emotional support granite countertops inside, and expect 12 offers by dinner. Buyers are comparing, they're negotiating, and they're paying attention to value. At the same time, though, pending sales and closed sales are still moving. So despite the doom posting online, buyers are absolutely still buying. They're just being more selective. This next set of numbers tells us something very important. Inventory continues growing, but sales volume remains strong. That means money is still moving through the market. People are still relocating to Florida. People are still buying homes, and lifestyle demand here remains extremely high. But buyers now have leverage they haven't had in years. We're seeing more inspections requested, more repair negotiations, seller concessions returning, closing cost assistance becoming common again. Which, if you're a buyer, is probably the best news you've heard since Publix chicken tender subs went on sale. Now this slide is one of the most important. Homes with price reductions sold noticeably faster than homes that refuse to adjust. And this is exactly what I've been telling sellers. The market is no longer rewarding testing the waters. If your home is overpriced, buyers are simply moving on to the next option. There's too much competition now. The sellers winning in today's market are the ones pricing correctly from day one, not the ones slowly reducing the price every 2 weeks while pretending the market is the problem. Because buyers today are informed. They've looked at 20 houses online before breakfast. This slide really shows the shift happening. Months of inventory has increased compared to last year. And for anyone wondering what that means, inventory is basically the market's pressure gauge. Low inventory favors sellers. Higher inventory gives buyers more breathing room. We're not fully in a buyer's market yet in many areas, but we are absolutely moving away from the hyper-aggressive seller market we had during the pandemic years. And honestly, that's healthier. A balanced market is better for everybody long term. This next slide reinforces the same idea. We're seeing stabilization, not collapse, not explosion, just normalization. And I know that's less exciting than YouTube thumbnails screaming Florida market disaster with a guy holding his face in shock, but it's the truth. The market is adjusting. Rates are still influencing affordability. Insurance costs are still frustrating people, but demand for Florida real estate remains strong, especially here in Central Florida. Now let's talk about something that could actually help affordability. Florida lawmakers are continuing to push housing funding programs focused on workforce housing and first-time buyers. Programs like Hometown Heroes, SHIP, and SAIL could receive major funding boosts. And this matters because affordability is still one of the biggest challenges in the state. Teachers, first responders, healthcare workers, a lot of people are struggling to bridge the gap between wages and home prices. So if these programs continue expanding, they could create real opportunities for buyers who previously felt locked out of the market. And speaking of buyers, first-time buyers are still actively trying to enter the market. Even with higher rates, even with affordability pressure, even with insurance costs, making everybody cry softly into their coffee. The big takeaway? People still want home ownership. Most buyers aren't giving up, they're adapting. They're considering smaller homes, different locations, townhomes, condos, or adjusting timelines. Because long-term wealth building through real estate is still incredibly attractive. And honestly, that mindset is probably smarter than waiting around for a magical 2% interest rate fairy to return. Now, this is interesting. Florida, condo, and townhouse sales are beginning to rebound. And buyers are suddenly finding something they haven't seen much lately: negotiating power. We're seeing more price reductions, more motivated sellers, more inventory, more flexibility on terms. And for buyers who got priced out of single-family homes, condos, and townhomes are starting to look much more attractive again, especially near high-demand areas and lifestyle destinations. Now, obviously, buyers still need to pay attention to HOA fees, reserves, and insurance issues, but overall, this segment of the market is becoming much more active. And finally, probably the biggest headline from this update: Florida pending sales jumped significantly in April. That's a major signal because pending sales are basically future closings. In other words, buyers are coming back. And if this trend continues into summer, we could see more competition, faster moving inventory, stabilizing prices, and stronger overall activity heading into the second half of 2026. So despite the challenges, rates, insurance, affordability, the Florida market is still moving. And honestly, Florida remains one of the most desirable states in the country for relocation. So overall, here's the real story. The Florida market is not crashing. It's not exploding, it's balancing. Buyers finally have options again. Sellers have to price strategically, and opportunities still exist on both sides of the transaction. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or just trying to understand what the heck is going on in this market, reach out anytime. I'm Thomas Lord, your Central Florida Realtor, and I'll see you in the next one.